Back-to-school shopping season is upon us, and for many families, it can feel more like a tug-of-war than a team effort. So one side you can have, like on the one side, you've got the kids with the big wish list. On the other, you have parents with limited budget. So how do you find a happy balance? Well, our next guest has some suggestions that might bring some peace. Joining us is our partner and consumer contributor, Jessica Moorhouse. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning.
So I understand that back to school is a stressful time for many parents, and a new survey backs that up.
Yes, so the money management app that's meant for kids and teens, Mido, recently did a survey, and they found that 81% of Canadian parents say that they find back to school shopping stressful, which I'm sure if you're a parent, that's no surprise to you. But there are some other interesting stats from this survey. They found that 40% of parents say that they overspend during back to school shopping to avoid disappointing their children. And I think that's also pretty common and probably not a big surprise as well, because there's a lot of pressure around this time of year. There's pressure from several sides, like you kind of mentioned, the kids, then there's the financial pressure. And so it makes sense why, a lot of parents are having it maybe a stressful time right now. However, it doesn't have to be that way. I feel like this time especially is a great opportunity to start teaching your kids about how to manage your money in the right way by using the back to school budget, and the shopping list is a great tool to get you there.
All right, well, this is where you come in. Let's give us some helpful tips. Where's it?
Yes.
A tip that maybe parents can use to help stay with that budget, even when the kids are, they've got their big wish lists.
Yeah, so one thing when I was growing up is my parents would always just say, we can't afford that, or no, we just, that it's just no. And I find what was difficult then as an adult was I didn't really know the reasons why. And so I had to learn that for myself. So if you can kind of bring your kids in and integrate them into the process, it's going to be a great learning lesson. So you can teach them how to create a list of, wants versus needs, so they really understand that later in life. And then also, if you really want to get strategic with it, when you have that back to school budget, but also shopping list, which I highly recommend you do, and get really, specific with it. What are all the things that we do need to get, and what are some of the wants that the kid wants? And then really price out all of those items so you can see, okay, all together, do they fit the number that I have in my head that I can afford for back to school shopping? If not, then collaborate with your child. And again, it depends on their age, what kind of conversations you'll have with them. But then you can have those conversations about, well, we can't get everything. So what should we take off the list? Or what could we put as, well, not right now, but maybe later? And we can make a plan to save up some money. Or, you can use the Mido app, set them some tasks, or, start giving them an allowance. And then later on throughout the school year, they can save up some money and, purchase some of those things on their wants. And using a tool like Mido was kind of great just because we are in a fairly cashless society right now. So sometimes it's hard to talk about money when you don't have something tangible. So using an app that honestly pretty much mimics what your normal banking app is. It has savings buckets, it has spending buckets. You can set up a schedule to give them an allowance, or set specific tasks that they have to accomplish in order to get that allowance. There's lots of great ways where you can kind of teach them things that are going to be in the rest of their lives when they're an adult, on how to spend, save, put money away for, a rainy day or for a future financial goal.
Okay, and I've never used the Mido app. Is this something that the parents would download on their devices, or the kids, or both?
Well, both, actually. So the parent would start with it, and then they would kind of send an invitation to their child to accept, and then they're linked. And so, when you do give your, say, set up an allowance or something like that, you actually get to also see exactly what they're doing. So you can have future conversations about, hey, I saw you spent this money. Let's have a conversation about it. And so you're always involved. You always see what they're doing, which is kind of great because you do want to be kind of a mentor about the, how to use things, how to manage your money in the right way. Of course, they may, make some choices that maybe they'll regret later. And that's part of the process too. You want them to kind of learn some of those things. Be like, oh, I blew my allowance money in the first week and now I have to wait next month to get it. Maybe I'm not going to do that next time. And so it's a great way to kind of test things out. And again, too, to separate your savings buckets, your spending buckets, to really identify those wants and needs, which is quite honestly, as I work with adults, one of the hardest things to kind of really figure out those habits.
For sure, and great to instill those good habits early on. Jessica, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
That was our partner and consumer contributor, Jessica Moorhouse. CTV Morning Live will be right back after this break. See you in about 2 minutes' time.